So I was at the park the other day. I took my baby to the park, and I found it. I found it. It was a very interesting experience that I had there because I started talking to a fellow neighbor there at the park, and we just had casual conversation, and then the topic of like what do we do for a living came up, and I mentioned that I'm in the AI space. AI is you know revolutionary. I work at trying to inspire others to use it as much as possible. And then he had kind of the opposite sentiment of agentic AI, right? He's like, oh, I don't think it's real or anything. I think it doesn't work. He has it at his job, but doesn't use it at any capacity. He actually jokingly said, I use it to figure out the name of my cook-off, right? And I found that really fascinating. A completely different view of AI. There's a whole group of individuals or a whole group of a population that is completely blind to what's happening in the AI. I mean, it's kind of like how I'm blind to what's happening in some other industry, right? It just makes sense. But it kind of begs the question, right? How can we better equip the next generation? And I think that agentic AI is the way that you equip the next generation, because it is going to revolutionize everything, right? The way and I'll give you a great example, right? Um, I actually introduced AI to my father-in-law. Here's another point: if you have a if you have a relative or friend or colleague or anyone that has this type of mentality of I highly suggest you find one and make it a challenge for yourself to introduce them to AI and try to get that sparkle in their eye when they finally come to the realization how magical it really is. Right? Because I don't think that they know how magical it is. And I had the amazing opportunity to actually have that experience twice. Well, I've had it several times, but recently I've had it twice, and I'll show you how fascinating the age gap between these two situations. So I introduced it first to my father-in-law. He's older, and I don't not I'm not gonna say he's old. He's great. But he's older, and he's the kind of guy that he needs. He always is asking my help with his phone. And so I actually introduced AI to him, the same way everyone does with ChatGPT. It's very easy, right? Download the app and talk to it. And it was fascinating the type of questions that he asked because they were very like, you know, classic traditional Google questions, and he knows the answers, but he still asks the questions anyway. Um, and it's something like, what year was this done, right? And I found that really fascinating that even with um, this new technology, the way that we interact with it is going to change because I'm already seeing the old way that we interact with technology is there. But then when I started to guide him on how to talk to it, right? And it's like, why don't you just tell him a little bit about who you are? And actually, he even had trouble doing that. So I actually asked him, why don't you ask the AI to interview you, so that like have him ask you questions so that it learns a little bit about you. And so I did that, and it asked him questions, and kind of like we all do prompting strategies, and or how we all interact with AI. But this is like very a very humble uh, version of this. And so he started answering all the questions, and then he asked his question again, and he was fascinated that the answer tied back to his actual personal story because he was able to tell him things about his past, things about his family history, things about where he came from, and apparently his family history. There's some famous people in there, so it got a lot of context. And so he was like, "This is amazing," and he's like, he looked at it, and he's just like in this silence, and he's like, "I'm just not." He's like, I bet you he's never gonna Google anything again. Um, and that is what I'm looking for. Now, the second one that was an amazing experience was with my I guess you can call him my brother-in-law, but he's way younger. He's he's like 13, right? Very young, 13. But it's the prime age to introduce this, right? And unfortunately, I truly believe that the education system needs to be reformed in some way to introduce AI earlier. Seems to be a lot of policies to prevent it from being used and all this other stuff, but I think that we need to have our young people use it, because it teaches you a different way of talking to technology. But not only that, it teaches you a different way of articulating what's in your head, and I think that is a better skill than anything in school. Um, there's going to be some pushback against that, but in general, AI is good for the youth. Now, so anyway, was talking to my 13-year-old brother-in-law, and I'm like, yeah, man. So he just started asking me random questions like, "What do you do?" And it's just very casually, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and then I'm like, well, let me just show you. So I showed him what I do, and he's like, "Oh wow!" And I'm like, "Did you know that you can like create anything with this?" And I showed him GitHub Copilot. I showed him GitHub Copilot CLI. Uh, so this is the cool. So here we go. GitHub Copilot CLI. I used it to inspire my 13-year-old brother-in-law to get into development. Now that's a huge statement, right? He doesn't program. He's not a pro. He's like he games. Goes to school. Like he doesn't. He's nothing of programming. And so I got him on this thing, and I created a folder for him, and I'm like, here you go. Talk about what you want to make. And he did like a short little prompt. He wanted to make like a Minecraft game, a 3D Minecraft game. And then lo and behold, it opens the browser. And there it is, the go button, where if you push it, it starts. And he pushes it, and then suddenly he's in this actual 3D world where he can like move around. There's some little like the blocks look weird, but it's there. It's open. And then he just starts going at it, and he knows all the keystrokes for some reason. He's an amazing gamer. He knows all the keystrokes already, and he's doing it. And then he's like, "Oh man, I want to add this." So he goes back to the CLI and he starts adding all kinds of requirements. And and then I come back an hour later. This dude made this app look so crazy. Like he already added enemies. He added the ability to shoot, and the way that he was interacting with these keystrokes was just amazing. And I was I was profoundly moved by how powerful it is to give a 13-year-old a tool that allows him to just express what he wants. That's what's so amazing. So I highly encourage you to do something like this. Find find some type of young mind. Um, Introduce them to AI in a way to where they can create something, and you will be surprised what they will make. I mean, just imagine your level of imagination at that age, and then given this type of tool, like GitHub Copilot, for example. But the point is, I highly encourage you to find somebody, uh, and just introduce them. Just introduce them. ChatGPT, um, Cloud Code, that's fine. I'm a little bit biased, but whatever. But I would argue use GitHub Copilot, right? But I had him prompted to where it creates a repo in GitHub to save his work, and it's actually right here, Battle Royale game. He created he created a Battle Royale 3D Geometry Dash clone Battle Royale game. He created all these three, and then look how legit this is. Like this is a this is a 13-year-old kid, never developed in his life, and he created this. And then I said, "Why don't you go look at your code?" And I showed him. I'm like, "Look at your code, dude. Like, look what you created. Like, look what you created, man. You did that." And he was just like, "Ah." So hopefully, I just made a new developer. That's the whole premise of the story. Yeah, but the point of the story is AI is here to stay, and if you are in this space or if you love I highly encourage you to challenge yourself. Find one person to to completely change their narrative about AI by introducing them and seeing the sparkle in their eye when they realize how magical it is. And then I want you to find one young person and give them a tool that allows them to create with AI, like GitHub Copilot, and you will see how amazing it is and what they will do. That's all I'm gonna say. That's it.